Seagate Technology STX Beginner's Guide. If you have ever wondered where all the photos, videos, and AI training data of the internet actually live, a lot of it sits on spinning hard drives made by Seagate. Today we are going to look at what Seagate, ticker STX, actually does as a business, who it sells to, and why it has grown. This is an educational walkthrough only, not investing advice, not a stock recommendation. So, what does STX actually do? Seagate makes hard disk drives, HDDs, which are the big capacity storage devices that sit inside data center servers and a smaller number of personal computers. The business splits cleanly into two pieces. The first, and by far the biggest piece, is called Data Center, which brought in $2.5 billion last quarter, about 80% of total revenue. That segment grew 55% year over year. The EB, you will hear me say, stands for exabyte. 1 exabyte is roughly 1 billion gigabytes, and Seagate shipped 175 exabytes of data center drives in just 3 months, up 47% from a year earlier. That was the 10th quarter in a row of growing cloud revenue. The second piece is called Edge IT. The IT stands for Internet of Things, basically smaller devices like home computers, security cameras, and gaming consoles. That segment was $612 million, about 20% of the business, growing 12% year over year. To picture how the company works, think of 3 boxes in a row. On the left you have suppliers, companies that sell Seagate the raw ingredients like media substrates, which are the spinning platters inside each drive, thin films, semiconductor components, and the tiny lasers that go into HMR drives. Seagate actually designs those lasers itself, which becomes important in a minute. In the middle box is Seagate, which builds finished drives. The headline product line is called Mosaic, which uses the HMR technology one will explain shortly. Their current generation is called Mosaic 4 Plus and stores 44 terabytes. A terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes on a single drive. A next generation called Mosaic 5 Plus at 50 terabytes is targeted for late 2027. Then on the right are the customers, cloud hyperscalers like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, which together account for about 90% of all the exabytes Seagate ships. The rest goes to enterprise companies and what Seagate calls VIA, video and image applications, basically the storage behind surveillance cameras and similar systems. So who does STX compete with, and how does it win? The flat report rates Seagate's moat. Moat means competitive advantage, the thing that keeps rivals from catching up, as narrow. Here is why. The hard drive industry is basically a two-company race, Seagate and Western Digital, often called the HDD duopoly. A duopoly just means 2 players dominating a market. The barriers to becoming a third player are huge because making a high-capacity drive requires extremely precise manufacturing, internally designed laser and photonics components, and multi-year qualification cycles with customers. Meaning a cloud company will spend years testing your drive before they will trust it inside their data center. That long qualification process locks customers in. The second piece of the moat is the HMR roadmap. HMR stands for Heat-Assisted Magnetic Recording. In plain English, the drive uses a tiny laser to briefly heat a spot on the spinning platter so that more data can be packed into the same physical space. Seagate's current Mosaic 4 Plus drive stores 30% more data than the previous generation with almost no change in materials cost. The CEO calls hard drives engineering marvels because they blend mechanical engineering, material science, nanoscale fabrication, and photonics all in one device. That gives Seagate a real cost per terabyte advantage that flash-based storage, which uses SSDs, solid-state drives, still cannot match at very large capacities. The third part is honest about the limits. This is a cyclical business, demand swings up and down with the data center spending cycle, and revenue actually fell 44% from peak to trough 2 years ago. And because the top few cloud customers account for about 90% of exabyte shipments, losing even one big customer would hurt. That is why the moat is rated narrow rather than wide. What are the key drivers for the business over the past 5 years? Three forces drove Seagate's transformation over the past 5 years. The first is the shift to what the company calls a build-to-order model with strict supply discipline. In plain English, Seagate stopped guessing at demand and now signs multi-quarter contracts with customers before building drives. Supply contracts are finalized all the way out through fiscal year 2027. That has turned hard drives from a boom-and-bust commodity into a business with real pricing power. They have delivered 12 quarters in a row of rising profitability and now extract a mid-single-digit price increase per terabyte every year from data center customers. The second force is HMR and the Mosaic product family delivering structural cost improvements. Gross margin, the share of every dollar of revenue left after the cost of the drive itself, has expanded from 23% in fiscal year 2024 to a record 47% last quarter. That is a doubling of gross margin in 2 years on the same product category, which is rare in any industry. The third and biggest force is artificial intelligence creating a wave of new data center demand. Training and running AI models requires storing enormous amounts of text, image, and video data, and that data lives on hard drives. Data center is now 80% of revenue and about 90% of total exabyte shipments. The top 3 cloud service providers have doubled their remaining performance obligations, a metric that tracks contracted but undelivered future revenue, to $1.1 trillion across their 3 businesses, which signals years of capacity build-out ahead. Seagate has raised its long-term revenue growth target to a minimum of 20% per year as a result. To wrap up, so in one sentence, Seagate is one of 2 companies that makes the high-capacity hard drive sitting inside almost every cloud data center. And its HMR technology gives it a cost per terabyte edge that is fueling growth as AI expands. As a learner, the things to keep an eye on are the next generation Mosaic 5 Plus drive ramp targeted for late 2027 and whether cloud customer concentration ever loosens. None of this is investing advice. It is a business overview to help you understand what the company actually does before you research anything else.